the balcony door was open, and then the rope was gone and the boxing bag was laid flat. And then that's when I realised what had happened. The earliest memory I have of Liam, he actually bullied me considerably. I think it was up until I was about 14 years old, and then he realised that I was bigger than him, so I think he thought, I better stop bullying him now. And then we just realised that we had a lot in common. The best way I can describe mine and Liam's relationship is we had a lot in common. We liked similar films, we liked similar music, we liked to wear similar things. I grew up in a little town called Penistone in South Yorkshire. I was the youngest of four, me, Liam, Jem and Alex. Now, I'm never unknowing to the fact of how lucky and privileged I was growing up. My dad started a business that I run now called OSI, and he started that from his garage, and he built it up quite quickly and built it to what it is today. So growing up, the four of us, we were very lucky and we were very privileged, and we had probably a lot more than other kids growing up. Unfortunately though, despite the circumstance that we all had, not everybody's outcome was the same. And getting to around 14, 15 years old, my brother Liam, he started to make the wrong choices, started to hang around with the wrong people, and started dabbling in different drugs. One in particular, which was ketamine. Now, when my brother was 16, he had a really severe accident. He got knocked off his scooter. He was coming down a main road. A car pulled out, and he went straight through and over the car. The doctors said that it was a miracle that he'd survived this accident, and he experienced severe brain damage. There was a lot of trauma. He broke a lot of bones. He was in an induced coma for many, many months. Now, at the time, I didn't realise that my brother was struggling with his mental health. I didn't realise my brother was depressed. But knowing what I know now, I look back and I believe that this accident was the trigger from the trauma to his depression that he later on suffered with. But the worst thing for Liam was that when he turned 18, he got around £50,000 in compensation because this accident wasn't his fault. Now at 18, he was dealing with all this trauma. He was very insecure. He was hanging around with the wrong people. He was still taking ketamine, and then he'd been given £50,000, which was fuel to the fire and was a recipe for disaster at the time. And unfortunately, from the age of 18 to 22, Liam struggled daily with a ketamine addiction. Now, a little bit of background at that time in our lives. My older brother and sister, Jem and Alex, are a little bit older, so 5 and 7 years older than myself. So they'd moved out. So it was always just me and my brother Liam living with my dad and my stepmom. And the majority of the time, it was great because my dad was always on holiday because he'd done so well. He liked to live his life. He enjoyed his holidays, rightly so. And this left me and Liam to our own devices. One side of it was brilliant. It was me and Liam. It was my best friend. I loved him to bits. We had his freedom. We had his friends round. We had parties. Every time my dad went away, right, what's happening this time? Who are we getting round? What party are we having? But then on the other side, it was very frustrating. It was always me finding my brother in a kethole on this drug, me having to lend him money to pay drug dealers off. Occasionally we had drug dealers turning up to the front door chasing money. But as families do, as brothers do, you stick by them and you do everything you can to protect them and get them through whatever it is they're going through. Sadly for us, it was October 2015, it was Monday the 26th. My dad was going to America with my stepmom Linda. Prior to this, my dad was saying, right lads, I'm off. I'm going for a few weeks now. Me and Liam were getting excited. We was planning a party. We were seeing which friends would get round. Unfortunately, this time was a little bit different. So it came to this day, Monday the 26th of October, and my dad had gone on holiday to America. Me and Liam had both gone to work. I was texting my brother on my lunch saying, I'm going to go to Aldi. If there's anything you want, I'll make tea tonight. If we'll stick a film on when you get back from work, we can chill. And I didn't get anything back from him. I rang him, he didn't answer the phone. I rang him again, he didn't answer the phone. It got to about 7:30 in the evening, and I'd still not spoke to my brother. And I was watching TV with my best friend Brad, and I saw his car come onto the drive. He had a black BMW at the time. So I got straight up off the sofa and I ran to the front door to confront him initially to see why, he'd been ignoring me all day. I was worried, as anybody would be. And he came through the front door and I could tell straight away that he was on this drug, ketamine. So as you can imagine, I am absolutely fuming. Not only has he ignored me all day, not only is he on this drug, but he's driven on it as well. And the last 4 years of me constantly having to deal with him on this drug and deal with this addiction, it all just came out of me. I said some awful things to him, things even to this day I still regret and I wish I'd never said. We've had this massive argument. I've gone off, he's gone off. 10, 15 minutes later, I get this awful feeling in my stomach that something's happened. I'd gone around the house to find where he is, and I'd gone up to the gym and I'd found that the boxing bag was laid flat and the rope had gone missing. I ran downstairs screaming. I ran outside and found that he'd hung himself from the balcony. I picked my brother up and then Bradley untied him and got him down. I was giving him CPR mouth to mouth. Not long after, there is not a day that goes by that I don't think about that moment. I honestly would not wish it upon my worst enemy. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't have flashbacks, I didn't have nightmares. Yeah, it was awful. After this point in my life, I saw how upset my mum was. More than anybody, for a mother to lose a son in that way was unimaginable. And the mistake that I made is that I saw how upset my mum was and I felt like I had to be strong for my mum. I felt like I had to be the man of the family for my mum, despite everything that I'd seen. And that's what I did. I forgot about what had happened. I'd made myself as busy as I possibly could and I just cracked on. But it was the worst thing I could have done. The worst thing I could have done. 2 years later, it was coming up to my 21st birthday. It was coming up to the second anniversary of my brother's passing. And it all just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was down, I was depressed, I was suicidal, and I didn't want to be here anymore. There was one evening in particular, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I'd been to the pub with my friends and I'd got absolutely smashed. At the time, probably trying to drink the pain away. And I walked home that evening from the pub back to my dad's. It was about a mile walk. And the whole way home, I was just thinking, if I take my own life tonight, will this pain go away? And the only reason that I didn't take my own life that night was that I had a voice in my head that said, don't you dare. So if you take your own life tonight, then your family will have to go through everything again like they did with Liam. And there is a saying that when you take your own life, the pain doesn't go away, it just gets passed on to your loved ones. I got home, I got in bed, I didn't sleep a wink, and eventually I sobered up. And these thoughts just came flooding in. I'm in a bad way and I need to do something about this. Luckily for me, I still have my dad. So the business that my dad founded, OSI, I now run. But at the time, I was a sales rep working for my dad. And we were at this business event where all the buyers, so we supply educational furniture, so all the buyers from schools were there. It was our time to introduce ourselves and hopefully build new relationships and get some new business. And this event just went terribly. It could not have gone any worse. And my dad could see how upset I was. And my dad's a very old-fashioned guy. He never swears. He's very polite, very prim and very proper. I had a full suit on in front of all these people, and he just literally dragged me out of the way, and he shook me and he went, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I just burst out crying in front of all these people, and I just said, "Dad, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I feel like this, and I just can't put my finger on it." So my dad said, "Right, this event, it's not important. Get in the car, we're going to go home and we're going to talk." So we went home and he took me up to the memorial bench that he'd built for our Liam, bless him. And we just sat there for hours. And I just cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I just got everything off my chest. No disrespect to my dad. My dad's an amazing guy, but he didn't understand what it was. He didn't understand addiction. He didn't get it. He just used to see my brother in the house off his tits, looking like a zombie, and he would just get really, really frustrated and not deal with the situation. I used to say to my brother, "Why do you feel the need to take this drug every single day? You know, you're not sociable, you don't look good when you're on it." And I just didn't understand it. And I would say to him, "Why the hell do you take this drug every day?" And he would say, "It is an escape from reality." Now, the perception for me at that point was, he was a very good looking lad, he was very popular, the girls loved him, he had some really good mates, he had me, he had his family. Why would he want to escape his reality? But then that's mental health. It doesn't discriminate no matter who you are. And there's two things I honestly do believe that saved my life. I admitted I wasn't okay. It's perfectly okay to admit that you're not okay, and it's okay to talk. At 19 years old, I lost my best friend, my brother, to suicide. At 21 years old, I'm depressed and I don't want to be here anymore. And I'm now 28 years old. I can hand on heart say that I am feeling the best I've ever felt, and I'm doing the best I've ever done. If you want to change your life, it has to start with you. You know, you can have everybody there for you in the world. You can have all your family members wanting to make a change and wanting to support you. But ultimately, you are the only person that's going to make that happen. You're the only person that's going to make a difference. And I feel like a lot of people say they want to change, but don't actually want to change. And it's about small steps. By changing small daily habits, changing your environment, especially, that's the most important thing. If you change your environment and the people you surround yourself with, that you can break addiction. But ultimately, it's only yourself that's going to make that difference. We're in a big culture, this in England especially, where everyone goes out every weekend, gets on it, drinks too much, feels like shit till Wednesday, feels fine by Thursday, and then gets back on it Friday. And I think it's a vicious cycle that if you can break it and see the difference it has on your life, you know, you'll never look back. My most fulfilling message that I've ever had, the most fulfilling thing that's ever happened to me, is somebody saying to me that without Tom's talks, they wouldn't be here anymore. And I always use that as life happening for me, not to me. I talk a lot about social media, how that affects our mental health, but also how we can navigate our way through it. I talk about the stigma around mental health, especially male mental health. And I also discuss different ways we can improve our mental health by changing our lifestyle and habits. So I have the talks, the workshop, the mindset coaching, and then I'm working on a few other things as well. For me, life isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about how much trauma, how much adversity and challenges you go through and keep moving forward. If you never quit, then you never lose. Never, ever give up.